Many years later, as he faced the firing squad, Colonel Aureliano Buendía was to remember that distant afternoon when his father took him to discover ice.
Wow. I mean, what an opening line. It just grabs you immediately, doesn't
Yeah.
it? That juxtaposition, the firing squad, this incredibly bleak moment against this almost magical memory of discovering ice.
It really does. It perfectly sets the stage for 100 years of solitude. And that's what we're doing today on the deep dive.
Exactly. We're using excerpts from Gabriel García Márquez's masterpiece as our source material.
And our mission, well, it's pretty ambitious. We want to really break down the core story, track the Buendia family through its, what, 7 generations?
Seven chaotic generations, yeah.
Hmm.
And map the journey of their town, Macondo, from its mythical beginning to its, well, its inevitable end.
There's so much going on, the repeated names, the passions, the politics. We need to untangle that web and figure out what really sealed their fate, you know?
And Macondo itself is key. We have to start there. The source describes it as this world so recent that many things lacked names, and in order to indicate them, it was necessary to point. Just imagine that.
Like a blank slate. A little village, 20 adobe houses beside this river with clear water and stones like prehistoric eggs. It sounds so pure, so untouched.
Almost Edenic.
Yeah.
But that purity, that isolation, it doesn't last long, does it? The outside world intrudes pretty quickly.
It really does. And the first figure who kind of kicks things off is the patriarch, Jose Arcadio Buendia. Let's call him JB.
Right. JB and his encounter with the gypsies, specifically Melquiades.
Yeah.
Every March, these gypsies show up, bringing strange inventions.
And this is where Macondo starts to change, isn't it? Melquiades, this heavy gypsy with an untamed beard and sparrow hands, he brings the first big invention.
The magnet, called the eighth wonder of the learned alchemists of Macedonia.
And the reaction isn't just curiosity, it's chaos. The description is amazing pots, pans, everything metal just tumbling, nails trying to pull themselves out of walls.
It's framed almost like magic or maybe a curse right from the start. And JB sees it and immediately thinks, gold. He thinks he can use this science to get rich quick.
That's the first sign, isn't it? This relentless, maybe slightly misguided scientific ambition. He doesn't see the potential danger, just the potential gain.
Totally. And then the next year, the gypsies bring a magnifying glass, huge, like the size of a drum.
And JB's reaction, not, oh, let's study things, but this could be a weapon, a solar weapon.
It tells you so much about the Buendia mindset, doesn't it? This incredible drive, this imagination, but it always seems to tip over into obsession, maybe even destruction.
And he pays for it. Melquiades tries to warn him off, but Jake is already experimenting. He trades Ursula Iguaran's inheritance, her father's buried gold coins, for this magnifying glass.
Oof, that's a heavy price.
Yeah.
Ursula's security, built up over a lifetime, just traded away for this military dream.
And it fails, of course. He gets badly burned trying to concentrate sunlight, takes ages to heal. But even then, he writes this incredibly detailed manual for his solar weapon and sends it off to the government.
Waits years for a reply that never comes. Classic JB.
So the failure pushes him deeper, right? Into alchemy.
Yeah, he complains to Melquiades, and Melquiades, almost feeling sorry for him maybe, gives him back the gold and sets him up with a basic lab. Retorts, funnels, an alembic.
This is the turning point. He leaves the sort of, and what does he find? Not the sea he was looking for, but that incredible image. A huge Spanish galleon covered in barnacles and moss, miles inland.
Just impossible. Pure magical realism. And for JB, it's like proof of failure.
Yeah.
He couldn't find the sea, but finds this massive symbol of a past failed journey right there in the jungle.
It breaks something in him. So what does he do? He decides they have to move Macondo, dismantle the whole village and start over somewhere else.
Another grand, impossible plan. When reality fails him, he wants to just escape it.
But Ursula steps in. She's the practical one, the anchor. Unbreakable nerves, the text says. Small, severe, but incredibly strong.
She refuses, rallies the other women. Her reason is simple and powerful. We will not leave. We will stay here because we have had a son here.
Wow. So the town's future is sealed not by Jabe's restless searching, but by Ursula's act of creation and her refusal to leave.
Exactly. She roots them there.
Okay, so Macondo is staying put. Now we need to look closer at the Buendia family itself. And the big thing hanging over them is the curse, right?
The curse, yeah. It all stems from the fact that Ursula and JB were first cousins.
And they had this intense fear passed down through the family that if they had a child, it would be born with the tail of a pig.
Which apparently came from this bizarre story about their great-great-grandmother and Sir Francis Drake attacking Riohacha. She sat on a hot stove in panic.
Yeah, a very specific, strange origin for such a powerful family fear. And it affected their marriage deeply at first. Ursula resisted JB for over a year.
That wrestling, that anguished violence, the source calls it, almost seemed to replace affection. It shows how heavy that burden of history, that fear of incest was for them.
But eventually they do have children. We meet Jose Arcadio, the eldest, big, impulsive. Then Aureliano, the middle one, quieter, already showing signs of being like his father with the alchemy interest.
And Amaranta, the daughter, intense, capable of holding serious grudges, as we find out later.
And just as the family starts to establish itself, the outside world intrudes again. But this time it's not technology, it's something else.
It's Rebecca. This mysterious girl just shows up. Adolescent, carrying a trunk, a little rocking chair, and this canvas sack.
The sack with her parents' bones in it, that detail is so unsettling, that constant clock, clock, clock sound.
It's like a little clock ticking down their fate, maybe. And Rebecca herself is strange. She sucks her finger, rocks in her chair, and she eats earth.
Eats earth.
Yeah, like handfuls of it. With this mix of pleasure and rage, it's this primal, unsettling habit.
But the real problem she brings isn't the bone sack or the earth eating, it's the plague.
The plague of insomnia. Visitation. The Guajiro woman working for them recognizes it straight away.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying because it's not just that you can't sleep, you stop feeling tired, but then you start forgetting things.
Everything.
Everything. First the names of objects, then their uses, then childhood memories, then the meaning of people. Total memory loss. It's an existential threat disguised as a disease.
And how does it spread? Through Ursula's little business, right?
Yeah.
The candy animals.
Isn't that brilliant? These sweet little treats. Green roosters of insomnia, pink fish of insomnia, yellow conies of insomnia. They carry this virus of forgetfulness through the whole town.
So everyone starts forgetting. And JB, being JB, comes up with a scientific solution.
The labeling system. He starts painting signs on everything. Table, chair, clock, door. He tries to label concepts too, like how to make coffee.
And that famous sign in the main street, God exists, trying to hold on to the biggest concept of all.
But it doesn't work. And this is the really profound part. They forget what the letters mean. They forget how to read. The labels become useless squiggles.
Wow. So memory's identity, lose that and you lose everything. It's a state of complete oblivion.
Until Milkiades comes back.
He returns. I thought he'd left.
He returns, looking ancient, decrepit, having supposedly died and come back because he said he could not bear the solitude. Even death was better than being alone like the people in Macondo were becoming.
And he has the cure.
Yep. A potion, a gentle-colored drink. It restores everyone's memory, saves Macondo from literally forgetting itself.
So Melquiades decides to stay this time.
He does. He moves into JB's old lab, the room that becomes his sanctuary, filled with his parchments. He becomes this sort of quiet observer, chronicling their history.
Okay, so the memory crisis is averted, and Ursula, now that things are stable again, she starts building.
Oh, yeah. Using the money she'd saved, she massively expands the house. 9 bedrooms, big dining room, a parlor, trying to impose order, respectability. She even bans cockfighting.
Trying to make Macondo more civilized, and that's when the actual government shows up for the first time.
Don Apolinar Mascote, the magistrate. He arrives with orders from the outside world. The main one, paint all the houses blue for national unity.
How does JB take that?
Not well. He insists his house will stay white like a dove. He basically stares Mascote down, forces him to back off, and accept Macondo's ways.
So the first clash between the Buendia's sort of inherent anarchy and the state's attempt to impose order. And JB wins this round.
For now, yes. But it sets a precedent for conflict.
All right, so the town's established, the first crisis is over. Now the second generation starts to come into their own, particularly the sons.
And their love lives immediately show the two contrasting Buendia male archetypes. You have Jose Arcadio, the eldest, huge guy, very physical.
He gets involved with Pilar Ternera, right, the fortune teller.
Yeah, she becomes this recurring figure, almost a primal mother figure for several Buendia men. But Jose Arcadio, he's too restless. He ends up running off with a gypsy girl after this incredibly intense, almost violent encounter in her tent.
Just abandons everything.
Pretty much. Became a gypsy, the text says. Driven by impulse, then flight. That's his pattern.
And then there's Aureliano, the complete opposite.
Totally. Quiet, introverted, becomes a silversmith. He develops this silent, consuming obsession with Remedios Mascote, the magistrate's daughter, who was only 9 years old at the time.
Wow, okay, he just sees her everywhere.
Everywhere. In the air, in flowers. It's this idealized, almost ethereal longing. And his first actual sexual experience, also with Piotr, is described as this huge disappointment, a swamp smelling of animals and laundry.
So the ideal versus the reality, that seems key for the Aurelianos inward-looking, maybe easily disappointed by the messiness of real passion.
I think so. Meanwhile, the sisters, Rebecca and Amaranta, are locked in this bitter feud over Pietro Crespi.
The Italian music teacher smells like lavender.
That's the one. Looks angelic. Both sisters want him, but Amaranta is consumed by jealousy. She basically vows Rebecca will only marry Crespi over her dead body.
That's intense. And speaking of death, this is when Melquiades finally dies for good, right?
He just fades away.
Old age.
JB is too busy with his own stuff to really notice, but they give Melquiades a big funeral, the first in Macondo Cemetery, but crucially, his ghost sticks around.
His ghost.
Shuffling through the rooms, especially the lab. He remains a presence.
And then tragedy hits the family directly. Aureliano actually marries Remedios Moscote.
He does, but she's still so young, and she dies very quickly, possibly in childbirth. Though it's not explicit, it's sudden and devastating.
And Ursula imposes this strict year-long mourning period.
Which forces Rebecca to postpone her wedding to Pietro Crespi. Indefinitely.
And Crespi.
He can't take it. The waiting, the rejection, he commits suicide.
Oh my God. So Amaranta kind of got her wish, but in the worst possible way.
Exactly. She desired Crespi, her actions indirectly led to his death and caused lifelong pain for her sister. It's a heavy burden.
How does she react?
With this extreme act of penance, she deliberately burns her own hand on coals and vows to wear a black bandage over the burn for the rest of her life, a constant, visible symbol of her guilt and her chosen solitude.
Wow. Okay, so amidst all this personal tragedy, the political situation starts heating up.
It does, and Aureliano, the quiet silversmith, gets drawn in. He learns about the liberals and the conservatives.
Liberals wanting things like civil marriage, divorce, rights for illegitimate kids, basically, changed. Conservatives wanting to keep things as they are.
And Aureliano becomes a liberal, but not really out of idealism at first. It's more cynicism. He sees his own father-in-law, Moscote, rigging the election for the conservatives.
So corruption pushes him over the edge.
That and the assassination of a doctor, Dr. Noguera, who had dismissed Aureliano as basically useless. That seems to be the final straw. The quiet man becomes Colonel Aureliano Buendía, CAB, the warrior.
And he leaves to join the uprising, putting his cousin-nephew Arcadio in charge.
Yes, Arcadio, who is Pilar Tenera's son with Jose Arcadio, and Arcadio, who's barely more than a boy, immediately turns into this petty tyrant.
Seriously, like full dictator mode.
Full dictator mode. Military uniform, arbitrary orders, executions. He even shoots a poor trumpeter just for playing badly or disrespectfully.
Yeah, he stops him.
Ursula, of course. When Arcadio decides to execute Magistrate Moscote, Ursula storms in, faces him down. I dare you to, bastard. And literally beats him with a pitch-covered whip.
She whips the dictatorship out of him.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Restores order through sheer maternal fury.
Okay, so that crisis is handled. And then Jose Arcadio, the original Traveler son, comes back.
He does. Returns massive, covered in tattoos from his travels. He marries Rebecca, finally.
Does Ursula approve?
Not at all. She banishes them both from the main house for marrying against her wishes after the mourning period.
And then he dies. Mysteriously.
Very mysteriously. Found face down, dead. There's this thin thread of blood from his ear. But the overwhelming thing is the smell of gunpowder that instantly fills the house.
Gunpowder, but no wound.
No visible wound. But the smell is so strong, so pervasive, Ursula has his coffin sealed shut with iron plates. And still, the cemetery supposedly smells of gunpowder for years after.
Like his explosive energy lingers even after death.
Exactly. And Rebecca, she just shuts herself away in their house, locks the doors and windows, and basically disappears from the world. Buried herself alive, is how the text puts it. Her own 100 years of solitude begin.
Okay, we're jumping ahead a bit now into roughly chapter X. We're into the third generation and things get confusing.
They really do. Starting with the twins, Aureliano Segundo, AS, and Jose Arcadio Segundo, JAS. They look so identical as kids that Ursula herself worries she mixed them up in the bath once, maybe sealing them into the wrong personalities.
And they do grow up very different despite looking alike.
Completely different. AS becomes this huge, life-loving party guy, plays the accordion, enjoys food and drink, very outgoing. JS is the opposite, bony, quiet, solitary, really hates war and the military, probably because of what he saw Arcadio do.
So the two sides of the Buendia coin almost, the impulsive and the solitary.
Exactly. But the truly standout figure from this generation, maybe in the whole book, is Remedios the Beauty.
Ah, yes, Remedios the Beauty, Arcadio's daughter. She's described as angelic, almost inhumanly beautiful.
Angelic, but also utterly innocent, so pure, that she seems completely unaware of her effect on men, and her effect is devastating.
Men die because of her.
They literally die of love.
Right.
They see her, they're overwhelmed by her impossible purity in this messy world, and they just expire. A young commander dies right under her window while she's bathing naked.
And she's just oblivious, immune to any kind of passionate feelings, it says.
Totally immune. She exists on a different plane. When Ursula tries to make her conform, dress properly, Remedios just starts sleeping naked and wandering around causing havoc without meaning to.
Her departure from the story is maybe the most famous image, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The ascension. She's helping Amaranta fold white sheets in the garden, and she just floats away, rises up into the sky, holding onto the sheet, and disappears.
Just like that, bodily ascension.
Just like that, pure magical realism. It's like her purity literally couldn't remain on the corrupted earth any longer.
Yeah.
And Fernanda, A.S.'s wife, her main reaction is annoyance that Remedios took the good sheets with her.
Huh. Okay, speaking of Aureliano II, A.S., he finds his own kind of magic related to prosperity.
Yes, through his relationship with Petracodes. He marries the very prim and proper Fernanda del Carpio, but he maintains Petra as his lover, his concubine.
She's described as having yellow almond-shaped eyes.
Right. And their love, their physical connection, somehow causes A.S.'s farm animals to become supernaturally fertile. Triplets, constant breeding. He becomes incredibly wealthy.
So he believes she is the source of his luck.
He's convinced of it. Even after marrying Fernanda, he keeps seeing Petra because he knows his prosperity is tied to her, to their connections. Like love literally generates wealth in this world.
And this wealth, this boom time for A.S., coincides with Macondo itself being dragged into the modern world.
By the railroad, Aureliano Triste, another Buendía descendant, brings the train, described as this frightful kitchen dragging a village behind it.
That's a great image. And the railroad changes everything, doesn't it? Ends the isolation for good.
Completely. And right behind the railroad comes the banana company.
Ah, the infamous banana company. It starts small, right? With Mr. Herbert.
Yeah, this gringo shows up, takes out a banana, and inspects it with a scalpel and a pharmacist's scale. This tiny clinical action foreshadows the huge systematic exploitation that's coming.
Then the engineers arrives, Mr. Jack Brown, and they have immense power.
Almost godlike power. They change the weather patterns for the harvest, they reroute the river, and they build this concrete enclave like a separate world right over the grave of the first Jose Arcadia.
Symbolically paving over the original wild Buendia spirit.
Seems like it. Trying to contain it, control it. And Macondo booms, but it's a chaotic, almost feverish prosperity, full of outsiders, opportunists.
And this chaos spills over into violence during the carnival.
The Carnival Massacre. It's bizarre. There are two rival queens, one representing Macondo, one seemingly representing the outsiders, the company maybe, and the royal guard of the fake intruding queen just opens fire on the crowd.
Killing clowns and people dressed as playing cards.
Exactly. 9 clowns, 4 Columbines, 17 kings. Senseless violence erupting from this manufactured festivity.
And Aureliano II rescues the wounded invading queen.
He does, carries her back to the Buendia house. And this queen turns out to be Fernanda del Carpio.
The woman he marries. The one from the city with 32 belfries.
Right. Raised to believe she was literally destined to be a queen. She arrives with her own gold chamber pot with a crest on it. She is the absolute embodiment of rigid, antiquated tradition.
And she tries to impose that rigidity on the Buendia household.
Oh, completely. Strict schedules for meals, forced prayers, formal manners. She tries to turn the chaotic Buendia home into this cold, aristocratic museum.
How does that go down with the rest of the family?
Not well. It creates huge friction. Ursula's influence fades. Amaranta is so disgusted by Fernanda's formality and all the new people that she goes back to eating alone in the kitchen, trying to retreat to the past.
So Fernanda's arrival really marks a shift. The end of the old, wild Macondo and the beginning of this internal decay, this stifling formality.
Absolutely. It's the beginning of the end for the Buendia's way of life in many ways.
Okay, so the banana company is established. Fernanda's trying to impose order. But the tension between the company and Macondo keeps building.
Right. It explodes. Culminates in the banana strike and the massacre. This is probably the most direct political event in the book, and it's horrific.
Jose Arcadio II, JAS, the quiet twin who hated the military, he sides with the workers.
He does. He's working as a foreman, sees the injustice. The strike grows, tensions rise. The company and the government promise to negotiate, tell the workers to gather peacefully at the train station.
Thousands of them show up.
Over 3,000, the text says. men, women, children, waiting for the magistrate. Instead, the army surrounds the square. They give a 5-minute warning to disperse, but people are packed in, confused.
And then?
Then the army opens fire with 14 machine guns, simultaneously, into the dense crowd.
14 machine guns.
The description is brutal. A cyclone, a volcanic roar, people falling in waves. The gunfire goes on for almost half an hour. Just total annihilation.
How does JAS survive?
Pure chance, it seems. He wakes up later in darkness, on a train. A long, silent train.
A death train.
Filled with bodies, stacked like bananas, heading towards the sea to be dumped. He manages to jump off and walk back to Macondo, the only known survivor.
But when he gets back, no one believes him.
This is the truly chilling part. The government puts out the official story immediately. Nothing happened. The workers were talked to. They peacefully went home. And everyone believes it.
Even his own twin brother, AS.
Even AS. JS tells him about the massacre, the 3,000 dead, the train. They just look at him like he's crazy.
They believe the lie.
That's ultimate solitude, isn't it? To be the sole witness to a massacre and have everyone deny your reality.
It completely isolates him. He has this truth, this trauma that no one else shares or acknowledges. So where does he go?
Back to the sanctuary, Melchides' room.
Exactly. He hides there, becomes almost invisible, poring over Melchides' parchments, protected by the room's strange light. And just as he retreats, the rain starts.
The 4-year rain. Not just rain, a deluge. It rains constantly for 4 years, 11 months, and 2 days. Non-stop.
What does the rain do to Macondo?
It basically washes away the banana company's entire operation, destroys the plantations, rots everything. The brief, foreign-imposed prosperity vanishes. It's like nature itself is purging Macondo.
And during this reign, Aureliano II, AS, he goes back to Petricotes.
He does. His wealth is gone, the parties are over. He finally realizes his luck died when he left her. He finds her old, poor, living in squalor.
But they reconnect.
Deeply. Their love rekindles, maybe even deepens, in this shared poverty and solitude. They find a kind of peace together, recognizing that maybe the wealth wasn't the point.
While all this is happening, what about the original Colonel Aureliano Buendía, CAB?
His story winds down. He's old, completely tired of war, disillusioned by everything. He just sits in his workshop, endlessly making his little goldfishes.
Making them and melting them down again.
Yeah.
Right. Never selling them.
Exactly. It's this obsessive, futile cycle. He tries to erase all traces of himself, guns his poems, wants to destroy everything. Only Ursula saves the daguerreotype, the old photo of his child bride, Remedios Muscote.
And how does he die?
Simply. Quietly. He goes outside to pee under the big chestnut tree, the same tree where his father, JB, spent years tied up in madness, and he just dies. Standing there, thinking about that first memory of seeing ice.
Full circle. Wow.
And Ursula dies around this time, too, after the rain finally stops.
She'd become really small, almost fetus-like, and blind.
Yes, she'd been hiding her blindness for years, navigating the house by touch and memory. She shrinks down incredibly small. Her last act is trying to restore the house after the rain damage.
But she realizes the children had been treating her like a doll.
Yeah, painting her face with soot, putting necklaces on her. She dies feeling like she'd become this forgotten plaything. Her death is so quiet, Amaranta Ursula later mistakes her tiny mummified body for a dead cricket.
Such a sad end for the matriarch. And Amaranta, the sister with the black bandage.
Her end is almost scheduled. Years earlier, death appeared to her, looking like Pilar Ternera, and told her she'd die the day she finished sewing her own shroud.
So she's been sewing it all this time.
For years, meticulously.
Hmm.
The moment she puts in the final stitch, she announces it, lies down, and dies. Just like that.
Sends letters with instructions for the afterlife.
Wants to be buried in simple clothes. Her whole life was this preparation for a solitary, self-determined end.
Okay, so the older generations are passing. What about the next ones? Meme.
Meme, or Renata, she's A.S. and Fernanda's daughter. She falls for Mauricio Babylonia, a mechanic.
The guy always surrounded by yellow butterflies.
That's him. It's this beautiful, forbidden love. But Fernanda finds out, and she's horrified. She arranges for Mauricio to be shot. He's paralyzed for life, and sends Meme away to a convent.
And Meme never speaks again.
Never speaks again. Dies decades later in Krakow, completely silent.
But she had a child with Mauricio Babylonia.
Yes. Aureliano. The last legitimate Buendía, though born out of wedlock and hidden away. He's found floating in a basket brought up secretly in the house by Fernanda.
And he grows up. How?
Solitary. Like all the Aurelianos. Very inward-looking, almost medieval. He becomes obsessed with deciphering Melchides' parchments in the old lab. He has that distinctive, startled look.
And the other child of A.S. and Fernanda, Jose Arcadio.
The one sent off to be a priest. He comes back, but he's no priest. He's kind of brutish, decadent. He discovers some hidden gold Ursula left, throws these weird parties with young boys in the house, drinking champagne.
But then he feels guilty.
Seems like it. He'd suddenly chased the boys out, whipping them in these fits of repentance. The male line is really falling apart into extremes of obsession and guilt by this point.
We're reaching the end now, the very last generation, the final act. It starts with Amaranta Ursula returning.
Yes. A.S. and Fernanda's other daughter. She'd been away in Europe, comes back married to a Belgian named Gaston. She's described as completely different, modern, happy, no prejudices. She wants to revitalize the decaying house.
And her husband, Gaston?
He's kind of
Yeah.
ineffective, nice enough, but obsessed with finding his lost bicycle and trying to start an airmail service. He's easily distracted by these modern, slightly absurd projects.
He leaves.
He leaves. His airplane gets mistakenly shipped to Tanganyika, Africa, the Makondos tribe, ironically, so he goes off to retrieve it. And that leaves Amaranta Ursula alone in the house with
Aureliano, Meme's secret son, the one obsessed with the parchment.
the last Aureliano.
Yeah.
And they are aunt and nephew, though they might not fully grasp the lineage or the curse.
And with Gaston gone, the inevitable happens.
The final taboo. They fall into this incredibly intense, destructive passion. It's not gentle. It's described as brutal, desperate.
Like they're tearing the house apart while making love, rolling in mud, acid.
Exactly. It's a love that mirrors the decay around them, consumes everything. It's the final, self-destructive Buendia impulse.
Around this time, Pilar Ternera finally dies too.
She does. Dies peacefully in her wicker rocking chair at the entrance to her brothel, which become this little haven.
And they bury her in the chair.
In the chair,
Duh.
in a big hole dug right in the middle of her dance floor. The earth finally claims the enduring symbol of Makondo's passion.
So Aureliano and Amaranta Ursula have a child.
They do. A son. And the moment he's born, the curse is fulfilled.
He has it. The tail.
He has the tail of a pig. The family's deepest fear realized at the very end.
And Amaranta Ursula.
She dies shortly after childbirth. Uncontrollable bleeding. The birth of the cursed child kills the mother.
Leaving Aureliano alone.
That's
Of
up.
the baby, the decaying house, and the parchments.
Utterly alone. Heartbroken. He finally goes back into Melchides' room one last time. He remembers the gypsy saying the parchments could only be deciphered when they reached 100 years, and the last of the line would understand them.
And he figures it out.
He figures it out. He realizes they aren't in Latin, they're in Sanskrit. And as he starts deciphering, the revelation hits him.
What are they?
They are the entire history of the Buendia family, every single event, down to the most trivial details, written out by Melchides 100 years before it happened.
Whoa. So their whole lives were pre-scripted.
Every war, every love affair, every birth, every death. Even his own act of reading the parchments at that exact moment. He reads about the final child being eaten by ants, and as he reads it, he hears it happening outside.
And he reads his own fate.
He reads that he will never leave that room, and he reads the final devastating lines as a hurricane begins to tear Macondo apart.
What do they say?
That Macondo would be wiped from the memory of men by the wind, and that everything written on the parchments was unrepeatable because races condemned to 100 years of solitude did not have a second opportunity on Earth. The end. Of the family, of the town, of the story, all consumed at the exact moment the history is fully understood. #outro.
That ending, it's just overwhelming. Thinking back through all those generations, JB's crazy inventions, Colonel Aureliano's endless wars, the twins, Remedios, the beauty, the massacre, that final doomed love.
It's an epic sweep. But when you boil it down, the thread connecting them all, the real tragedy, maybe it wasn't the wars or the plagues or even the incest itself, it was the solitude.
That inability to truly connect, right?
Yeah.
Even within the family. They live side by side but are locked in their own obsessions, their own world.
Exactly. The repeated names, the Aurelianos always solitary and lucid, but maybe emotionally stunted. The Jose Arcadios always impulsive and physical, but maybe lacking introspection. It's like they were trapped in these cycles. They couldn't learn from the past because they were doomed to repeat it.
You see it everywhere. The gypsies bring magic at the start. The railroad brings modernity later, but both are temporary, almost illusory. They vanish, the galleon appears impossibly, the rain washes everything away. History isn't linear, it's cyclical, and maybe inescapable.
And that final revelation about the parchments just takes it to another level. Melchides didn't just observe, he wrote their fate. Their entire 100 years was, in a way, just the playing out of a script.
Which makes Aureliano's final act of reading it so poignant. He understands everything, but only at the precise moment that understanding becomes irrelevant, as reality itself dissolves.
It's simultaneous creation and destruction, lived experience and recorded history converging into oblivion.
So, the final thought for you, listening. If everything is predetermined, if your deepest feelings, your biggest struggle, your most private moments are already written down like they were for the Buendias, does that change the nature of the solitude you feel while living it?
Were they condemned by fate, locked into Melchides' script? Or were they condemned by their own inability to see the patterns, to connect, to break the cycle before the final page was turned? Something to think about.